Ready, Billy?
Here we go. We're live. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Hope everybody's doing well out there in the Facebook world. We are doing a little different setup, so I'm like kind of looking at you guys and looking at the camera over here and setting up a little bait cam. That was pretty cool.
Bait cam, I like that term.
So let me bring on Judd here. What's up, dude?
What's going on?
Camera looks a little different, but hey, whatever. We don't have any monitors, and I didn't set up a shot with you and I, so we're just gonna do. We're just gonna roll with it because the bait cam is more important.
The
which
bait
you guys,
cam.
which you guys will do well. So
I don't care what we look like.
yeah, we don't care. It doesn't really matter. I could probably just add me right into your shot right now.
Let's see.
Let's see if it works.
See what you got.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, look at that. Camera within a camera. You guys can see me up here in the corner. New little shot, new little nerd technique. So anyway, man, what's been going on, dude? What's been going on in the water?
Oh man, trout fishing continues to be good. It's definitely changing up. Fish are moving into their winter patterns, I'd say, and lots of fish still around. Lots of small fish, kind of interfering with day-to-day fishing, but still a great time to be on the water. And a lot of big fish caught recently in front of this front that's coming through, this big nor'easter. And the albacore showed back up for a few days. That was cool. The red fishing in the ocean on the jetty's been really good. It's fall fishing and winter fishing's been great. Lots of schools of redfish in the marsh. It's been a good fall and winter so far.
Yeah, man. So a lot of big trout, like you said.
A lot of big trout.
What's the biggest one you've seen so far? What's the biggest one that we've reposted?
I think the Richard Gilligan's 32-inch.
Is it the one that won all the tournaments?
It's probably going to win a lot of them. Yeah. 9.8? Was it 9.8? Yeah, 32
9.8 pounds.
Yeah, I feel bad for Richard, man. I saw his post on Instagram this morning, and people just chewing him out. Just haters. A lot of haters out there saying, "Oh, that fish was caught in a gill net. Look at the gill net scars." And if anybody's caught a trout before, they know that they love wrapping themselves up in the line when they come up and head shake.
That's true.
Yeah. But he's an incredible trout fisherman, one of the best trout fishermen around, and probably in the state. For sure in the state, and catches a lot of big fish, and people are going to hate, but he's doing a great job out there. He's the one catching the fish while they're sitting there on their couch hating. So
hey, that's it, man. It can be pretty tough on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook.
But show me the fish.
Keyboard warriors.
I love being a keyboard warrior. Hey, what is going on, man? We're gonna go ahead and bring you on, Travis. You can get a sip of water.
Yeah, go ahead and take
I'll
a
let
sip.
you get a sip there. I'll go to my shot here and let you enjoy your water.
Just don't breathe. Just don't breathe heavily into the mic. It's so annoying.
Yeah, dude, it's okay to be a mouth breather. I'll turn on that one effect where it's like the monster sound or whatever. So yeah, we had Travis in the studio with us. Travis Overman. We're gonna be talking about trout tactics and all your fun. Dude, I'm just gonna show the shot. I can't even wait. Look at this little bait cam shot. We're gonna be talking about all these different kind of little bait cam shot there we set up with the iPhone. So Travis, super stoked to have you on the show. Super stoked to have you in studio.
Right.
You and I did a show before, and that was awesome. So really good to have you on, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on the show with you too.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Oh yeah, you guys haven't been on the show together.
No, not together.
We were supposed to, and then my dog had to die about 2 hours before we went live, and so I bailed on it. So
that dumb dog. What to do? No, I'm just kidding. I shouldn't say.
I'm over it now. I can joke about it now.
No, but I do it, and appreciate you guys having me back on.
Yeah, man.
You
awesome,
fish
dude.
nerd, you.
I am.
I saw your Instagram story today that said, "I'm a nerd. Tune in tonight."
Yeah, I am.
Well, that's awesome. Well, hey, let's do this real quick. Let's shout out to our sponsors, and then we'll get right into it. What do you say, Judd?
I'm into it.
So since you don't have the list of sponsors, because I don't have a monitor for you guys.
Dude, on the podcast last week, I remembered every one of them. I was proud of myself.
Every single one.
Usually I don't even remember a single one of them. So.
Oh, man. Well, I will say them really quick. We have Ice Strike Fishing. Get on there. They got all kinds of holiday deals I saw going on, so I don't know what they're going to be running through the rest of the Christmas season here, but be sure to check in with those guys. We have Cito here in Wrightsville Beach, so reach out to Cito Scott. Don't want to get stuck out there on the water.
Definitely don't.
AFCO, got some great AFCO gear. Man, just some really awesome product. I saw them at the Intercoastal Angler not too long ago there, doing a little sidewalk sale. So be sure to check out those guys. Eastern Angling. Judd Brock here will take you fishing. Man, great fishing this fall, so make sure you book a trip with him. Marshwear. Travis is actually sporting a Marshwear shirt tonight. Looking good.
Looking real good.
Looking good. We'll switch back and show all that beautiful hoodie you got on. I love their stuff, man. Of course, we print shirts and do all that stuff, something like that. So it looks pretty sick.
Yeah.
And speaking of Thorpe
comfort
Creative,
colors.
so if you want to start your own company to compete with, no, I'm just kidding. Call me. I'll help you. So Thorpe Creative, we do all that. CT Custom Lures makes great flies. Actually, still waiting on some carp flies from him. So I ordered them a long time ago. He made them. We just can't connect for some reason. And then
it's crazy how busy life gets.
Dude, it's crazy. And then last but not least, KBT Realty. Come check it out. Come see me. Buy a house. Sell a house.
Buy a house.
Invest
win a
in a
fishing
house.
trip.
Another fishing trip.
Yeah.
Oh man, you want to buy a house, Travis?
I just purchased one.
Oh, come on. Take that thing back and buy from me.
You can take it back?
Yeah, I wish, right? We can sell it for you. Oh, man. So,
maybe in 5 years.
Dude, I'm going to try to do a different shot here. I'm going to try to do it with a camera. Oh, here we go. Dude, I can do a camera within a camera. So I'm like on your stomach right now. What's up? I'm going to move it over here to this side so it doesn't look so awkward. You guys can't see anything. This is all perfect.
No, I'm
in this little corner. Perfect, man. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about trout.
For sure, let's do it. I guess last time, what was the topic we talked about the first time you came on? It was
summer redfish patterns. I think primarily live bait fishing.
Live bait fishing, yeah. That's right. So yeah, me and Travis have been good buddies for a while, and really just started fishing together. I'd say maybe 2 years ago, and this winter we've had a lot of similar days off, and so we've been fishing together a lot. And Travis knows a lot about trout fishing tackle. Like, yeah. I can look in the box and be like, I need this weight. I have no clue what the weight is, but I know this is the one that weighs what I want it to weigh. Travis will be like, that's this is 3/16, and these are these hooks, and I want that, but I'm just not smart enough to remember all that. So Travis is a great resource on the water for myself, even when I'm talking about jig head weights and hook size and all these different little things that really do play in. And so we're excited to have him on to talk about trout fishing tackle and tactics. It's probably going to be heavier on the tackle side, but the tactics of how to apply these different baits and different scenarios.
Yeah, which we could talk about for days, but we'll try to get through this hour.
We'll just try to get through the hours, see if we can make it.
If us three can make it through this hour, we're going to make it through the rest of our lives.
I hope, yeah, that's true. All right, so let me ask you a question.
Y'all don't know, but we all have pistols pointed at each other under the table right now.
Dude, don't get me. I'm on a pistol kick right now. Don't even get me started. A
pistol kick.
I'm on a pistol kick right now. So dude, let me ask you, Judd. So you go out there and you're trying to figure out what weight you want. Are you doing the wet finger in the air, and then you pick up two baits and you're like, this one feels better.
I wet my finger, hold it into the wind, and then I take my two baits and I toss them up and see how the wind affects the cast. I'm going to know. I'm just kidding. I don't do it.
Dude, I was like, hold on a second. There's probably somebody out there who does that. Exactly what you're saying.
I feel like it's a great way to lose a bunch of mirrorlures overboard and get someone for them.
For sure.
The wind blows.
Yeah. It's no, I feel like, well, that's a great kind of, that gets me thinking about a good starting topic here. And that would be what do you tie on first? When you go to a spot and you're maybe fishing a spot you've been fishing or not, but you're just your confidence bait, your search bait, that in windy or calm conditions, dirty water, clean water. Travis, what's your kind of go-to confidence search bait? What are you going to tie on first?
My first bait would be a paddle tail.
Paddle tail?
Yeah. Okay. Usually a heavier, a quarter ounce. I guess it just depends on the depth I'm fishing and the area I'm fishing. If it's shallow, I'm fishing probably an eighth, maybe a 3/16, and then if it's deeper, I'll fish quarter ounce to 5/8 jig head.
Yeah,
just depends. And then bait size, probably 3 to 5 inch paddle tail.
Okay.
And you have a paddle tail over there in your pile of goodies.
I do.
I want to look at it. Let's see. Hold on. Bait cam.
Bait cam.
Okay, got that one. And what is that? What color is that right there?
That is a Z-Man Redbone diesel minnow. It's good for clear water, dirty river water, just about anywhere you want to fish. And that's my search bait. I know a lot of people throw pop and cork shrimp. I just feel like I could fish fast and cover a lot of water throwing that bait and knowing where fish will be getting bit. Maybe not get big bites, but just getting bit. So that's my go-to bait. And then I can pick, if I get bit, pick that water apart with some, slower, trout trick baits or DOA shrimp. Or
so if you find one trout, you find a lot of trout? They run in schools like most fish? Or
not necessarily, but here recently, that's been the case.
Okay.
And Judson could second that with
where
some
there's
of the
one,
days
there's
he's
more.
having.
For sure. And even sometimes, like me and Travis got on like a big fish bite, like in one area we caught a couple 5-pounders in one zone. So it's like, I'm gonna take this jacket off. I don't know. I think I look really cool in this jacket, but it's getting really hot. Pretty warm. So I'm gonna take it off.
Intercoastal angler will appreciate the left chest ginormous print there. Looking good.
But yeah, I think one of the cool things about a paddle tail too is there's so many different ways to work it, work a paddle tail. And one thing that I never did with the paddle tail before trout fishing, which is pretty stupid because it's like the best way to work a paddle tail probably, is just swimming it, kind of crawling it on the bottom. And me and Travis had some really good days this year fishing like that. But throwing it out there, letting it hit the bottom, and just slow retrieving it with like some little twitches, maybe not even twitching it at all.
So almost like flounder fishing.
Yeah, but you're swimming it, I guess, just off the bottom.
Yeah, and actually was out. It's probably been 6 weeks ago, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. Water was still pretty warm, but the fish were just acting weird. So a friend of mine, John, in Carolina Beach, we hit the river and found a school of fish, and the mullet were still actively running at that time. Yeah. And we saw some trout blow up on these mullet that were working this grass line. And so we threw paddle tails in on top of that school of bait fish, immediately got bit. 3 casts later, we didn't get bit for 15 minutes. So it's like I fished fast, burning it on the top, kind of mid-water column, and he fished it as slow as he could on the bottom. He would burn it and kill it, but on the bottom. And he got more bites than I did. So it's like then I started changing up my retrieve and crawling it real slow, but not stopping it on the bottom. And then I got more bites than he did. So it was like, it was weird. And you can fish a paddle tail 100 different ways, like Judson was saying, but that is my go-to bait.
It's probably one of the most effective baits, a paddle tail rigged on a jig head, or even really just a swim bait in general, to be able to just have it, that one bait, one weight tied on, and still be able to fish every section of the water column, with the one bait. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's probably the best bait for that. You still get good action just swimming it. Where like a trout trick or a soft plastic kind of stick bait, if you will, it's not going to be as effective mid water column. It's more of like a bottom style bait.
It is for sure, and I feel like the trout trick, if the fish are holding up on the bottom, you can almost fish it with like a shaky head jig head. Yeah, which I didn't think to bring those in here, but late winter, I mean when it's brutally cold, water temperatures are like the high 40s, just January, February fishing for trout. When they get lethargic, I just you almost throw out and retrieve in your cast is 3 minutes long.
Gotcha.
Your one retrieve or one cast, like 2 or 3 minutes long. Like just fishing an area that that holds fish or big fish, and just fishing as slow as you can on the bottom. And I've had really good luck fishing that trout trick on a bass shaky head jig head, like a VMC.
Yeah. Okay, man.
One thing that I've noticed, I did some filming of some of the Z-Mans rigged with some of the ice strikes underwater in my buddy's pool. Pretty nerdy. That's my nerdy fishing side coming out. But the cool thing about the Z-Mans is the soft plastic floats.
Oh,
and so if you were working like a dense paddle tail that didn't float and working it really slow on the bottom, you're not probably going to get a paddle motion
because you're not
from the
getting
tail.
as much action from it. Yeah.
But when that tail is floating up above the back of the hook, even if you're reeling it slow, that tail's still kind of barely kicking above the bottom because it's wanting to hold up and the head's holding it down. So you can work a Z-Man a lot slower on the bottom and still get action.
Yeah, I feel like the elastic material is more buoyant than your traditional soft plastics, and I think the original trout trick is your regular plastic, so it doesn't have a tendency to float up when you're fishing it. Still, it just lays on the bottom.
Yeah, so that thing, I when somebody else was telling us that on the previous podcast, and I was like, man, I'm going to go just check it out, because I've never, and it's so funny, because, you go out there, and you go to the tackle shop, and everybody's like, oh, buy this, do that, throw it out there, reel it in, you're like, oh, cool, but you never really think about, you just watch how one guy, you went in the middle of summer, how he fished and caught a bunch of fish, and then you try to fish that same way in the wintertime, and then you're like, dude, this sucks, I'm not catching anything, and then the guy, up the creek from you is like slaying them.
Right,
like, what the freak is this guy doing?
Right.
So
it
that makes sense.
Happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
that's funny you said that. I was just reading this comment from Andrew Demara. I probably butchered that last name, but he said, my 11-year-old son was just slow swimming a diesel minnow this past weekend and outfished me 5-1, and I was jigging it off the bottom. So fishing the same bait, different retrieve, seeing different outcomes. It definitely don't just fish a bait one way. Like when you're looking for fish a bait every way you know how to fish it, and see where that bite comes.
And fishing different types of retrieves, different speeds, and
yes,
for sure.
All right,
and primarily like so. I mean, I think it's just a good go-to bait all around.
Yeah.
Because I mean, trout, they eat bait fish, menhaden, mullet, glass minnows. I mean, glass minnows is like a really good food source for them. But
and what length are you typically going? What's your go-to length on there? Or is it just?
I grew up fishing a 3-inch grub, and so then I went to a 3-inch paddle tail, and I recently started throwing a bigger paddle tail bait. I was catching your 22, 24-inch fish on a 3-inch bait. And when Judson and I found some quality fish the other day, like nothing under 20 inches, we kind of played with the idea of fishing a bigger bait for a bigger bite.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we had 3 fish around 5 pounds
Dang.
on a 5-inch diesel minnow.
Yeah.
Z-Man.
And I'm not going to say any names, but there's a guy here too that swims a bait by that same. I was trying to say something catchy, but I butchered it. But swims a bait by that same theory. And I've seen him throwing the 7-inch diesel minnow, big old swim bait, and catching trout. And he said sometimes he'll catch a 14-inch trout on it.
Dang.
14-inch trout eating a 7-inch swim bait. So
because I guess trout, man, their mouths will open up like huge.
If you think about it, like not all fish are going to eat from behind.
Yeah.
Right? They usually go for the eye or the head of the bait. Like if you look at most of your mirror lure bites or your just your hard bait bites in general, sometimes the bait fish is reversed and the front hook is in their throat.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So, I mean, a lot of fish are going for the head.
So you think they're coming around the front and attacking it from the front? Is that how they're doing it?
From the side.
Oh, just from the side or from the front?
Yeah, so
kind of like a quartering towards.
As long as you don't have like a 10-aught or 12-aught hook.
Yeah.
I mean, those smaller fish will definitely eat that big swim bait.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy, man.
It is crazy.
That's pretty, like just that one thing that you said, I'm like, golly, because my father-in-law, he was in this past weekend, and so we went fishing. Of course, we were fishing in the surf, so I feel like that's a whole nother world to figure out and learn when you got water just, gushing at you.
Water.
And so I don't know how would you fish that in the surf like that? Have you? I mean, I know you're a guide and you boat fish, but
typically fish the surf, and
yeah,
it's funny. Like a lot of my friends I just talked to recently, I mean, a lot of big fish are coming from the surf right now, and I mean that's Judson found some fish in the surf, a couple months ago.
Yeah,
pushing in the inlets and working their way down the beaches. I usually just hop in the boat and head to the river, or just fish some local creeks.
Sounds like a country song.
Either in Southport or around Wilmington.
I hop in the boat and I get my dog.
Heading to the river and
we were actually
I don't know that would be an effective bait for surf fishing.
For surf, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I have no experience.
I have some experience. It was terrible. And of course, we just went out on a whim because we didn't want to walk all the way around to the other side. But anyway.
Well, they're opportunistic feeders. I mean, trout will eat almost anything, but there's times where they're going to get really dialed in on one thing, or sure. A certain retrieve or certain bait is going to get a lot more bites. Yep. There's some days where you can sit there and throw whatever you want and catch those fish, but
yeah.
Some days where they get real picky. Well, talking about swim baits, you said you really like the diesel minnow rigged on an ice strike jig head. Tell me, are there any other swim baits that you like throwing as far as soft plastics go? Also, like pre-rigged swim baits? You know?
Pre-rigged Billy Bay Halo Shad, or I guess a Betts Halo Shad, 4-inch Halo Shad. It's a 1/4 ounce. It's like a built-in lead belly weight for the jig head. That's a good bait. I don't know that, and they do tear pretty easy because it's not the elastic material. But I mean, that's a good overall swim bait as far as size and weight. And they're limited on the colors.
Yeah.
I think they have like a
tiger.
Smoke, a fire tiger,
fire tiger,
a pink, and then I think that's it, right? They just have
I think
3 or 4 colors. But I mean, if they could expand a color list or whatever, I think that would be awesome. But
they would.
We have Z-Man and other brands to thank for that. But,
definitely.
It's swim baits. Yeah, Halo Shad. I know a lot of people use Storm.
Yeah, the Storm swim baits.
Storm swim baits, which I used to fish bass fishing growing up, but I've never really thrown them for trout. And they do make larger swim baits, I think, for striper. And some people probably use those for trout as well.
Yeah. Dude, I've seen some huge swim baits out there that people are like, I catch trout. Really? That's pretty insane. But all right.
One of the things I remember, me and Travis were fishing together, and I fished a good bit of those pre-rigged swim baits, especially for striper, as well as some trout fishing. But one of the things that me and Travis were talking about the other day on the boat is you buy these packs of these pre-rigged swim baits, and sometimes you'll only really get, you don't want to just tie it on and fish it, because sometimes you'll get one or two in that pack that fish as well, and the other one will have a little kink in the tail or something like that.
Oh, gotcha.
And it won't swim right.
And I didn't want to mention that, but yeah, so like if you buy a 3-pack of baits, like I'm pretty picky when I'm picking out like on the shelf a pack of
He's picky
swim
when
baits.
he's picking.
Like, I mean, I'll look at DOA shrimp if there's a kink in the tail, or if the tail isn't flat, I won't buy that particular pack.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, because you might only get 1 or 2 baits in that 3-pack.
That costs you $9.
That work. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had, quite a few that didn't swim right in the water, would roll up on their side as far as halo shad.
Yeah.
And then I've just had DOA shrimp that spin in the air when you cast, and then they roll in the water.
Yeah.
So they don't sink like a natural shrimp. So I don't know. But yeah, you just don't, I don't know. You don't know. But
for sure. Well, let's talk about some more of these pre-rigged baits. Like, I know you and I both like to fish a lot of the shrimp. I've got a tackle box that's like twice the size of this, that's just filled with pre-rigged soft plastic shrimp, and I really only throw one of them, but I've got a bunch of them, and I like fishing a lot of them. And I think you're better at being a little more versatile with the shrimp. But let's talk about some of those pre-rigged shrimp that you like to fish, and maybe some of your favorite ones.
So, I mean, I always fished DOA growing up because that was like the only thing that's available. And now like other companies are coming out, like Voodoo has a very good shrimp.
Yeah.
I want to say like Live Target. They have like these hard plastic with like the soft tail shrimp that dive or suspend or whatever. And then Storm has a shrimp.
You mean go to the bait camp?
Bait cam.
Bait cam.
Which one's the store on the end there? Yeah.
Which is the same body, shape, style jig head, and lead as the Betts Perfect Sinker, just a little smaller profile. So I feel like those three, the DOA, the Storm,
and that's the DOA right beside of it.
That's correct.
Is that correct? No, cool.
And
dude, what a good tip, man! If that thing has a little crinkly tail, I'll like go to the next package.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's crazy. Me and Travis go into that because me and Travis are pretty mind blown one day fishing a DOA shrimp and kind of how that swam. And we were getting so many more bites on a DOA. And someone actually just asked, are you throwing the DOA on a popping cork? And honestly, I've never thrown a DOA on a popping cork.
I'm weird about cork fishing, and I almost hate cork fishing live bait with clients, but sometimes you have to. I used to throw popping cork. I feel like in the summertime it catches fish. Maybe it just gets their attention, like early morning trout fishing.
Dirty water, they might be a little more aggressive.
Dirty water, yeah, exactly.
I gotcha.
Because they can't they can't really see the cork, or maybe see a few feet in the water column. But anyways, fishing just having the, I guess the bait sink to the bottom is important for me. But if I guess you're fishing shallower and you're working the bottom, but maybe fishing 2 or 3 feet, and you have that length set to 2 or 3 feet on the popping cork, that could be effective. But I just don't throw popping cork. I like letting that bait just kind of drift. If it, say so like Justin and I were fishing the bank, and it had a couple of, I would say holes, but a couple of rises and a couple of holes. Yeah. So you want that bait you want the bait to ride the bottom. Those trout are going to sit in those spots where there's current breaks, and they're looking for naturally bait to swim by them,
Yeah.
So I'm not really throwing a popping cork.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. Now it does catch fish at other places, and definitely in the Pamlico. But down here, I feel like it spooks a lot of fish, and particularly redfish for me. Like, I can't stand throwing popping cork for redfish, but it works in other places in other states.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was on a trip not too long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, and the guy just had us throwing popping corks the whole time. It was up out of the Outer Banks, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, this is catching everything. And then I came back here and was trying the same thing, and it was like, there's nothing. And I
think heavily pressured fish, too, might spook a little bit more on a popping cork.
I agree.
Yeah, true.
I agree.
And this time of year, I wouldn't tie a popping cork on this time of year. Maybe to use it as a float if I was, just trying to float a bait through an area, or float a live shrimp or something like that. But the water's so clear now. It's cold. The fish are probably a little more spooky, definitely a little more lethargic for the most part. And a popping cork is kind of an aggressive bait. And the nice thing is you can twitch that and then let the bait sit. But like a DOA shrimp, this time of year, I want to fish something really slow. So if I pop a popping cork with a DOA shrimp on it and then I let it sit, that shrimp's going to fall nicely, but then when it tightens up on the line, it's going to sit vertically.
And that's another thing. Yeah, exactly. Justin just mentioned that shrimp will stand up.
Yeah.
When I say stand up, it'll be vertical in the water.
Yeah.
So it's not as natural. If you're fishing it just rod and reel or just, on a leader, that bait rides horizontal in the water the entire time. And when you twitch it, it rises and then just kind of naturally if you watch shrimp, like if you release them or if you pick them up in a tank, at the tackle shop and you just watch them, they just kind of glide back to the bottom.
Yeah, they don't go straight down. No, they kind of slide.
Yeah, exactly. They just kind of glide. And that was a day that you guys talked about, I think a few episodes back, the DOA dangle. That was an effective way to catch trout the day that Judson and I found them.
Yeah, the dangle.
Was, just letting that DOA just slide down this ledge on a falling tide right on the edge of a point, and the trout couldn't stand it.
Yeah, it was a different way than I've ever fished for them. And we were sitting along the bank up current, like completely up current from the fish in the same line that they are in the boat. My trolling motor died. We pulled up on the bank, stuck my push pull in, and we were sitting there dropping the DOAs back with an open spool. So we were just literally setting them beside the boat, not even casting them, letting them fall back. We'd close the spool, give it like 2 little twitches, let it come back up, and then let it glide back down. And like the third time, every time we'd open that spool, the third time we'd close it back and go to jig it, there'd be a fish on it. Like 50 times in a row.
And either we'd feel the bite on slack line or the line would just race out of our spool or out of our hand, and we were like, fish is on.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They wanted to eat that thing riding the tide down, that shrimp gliding down to the bottom. And let's talk about, Travis, you go into this because you're good at explaining this. Like, so a lot of times you're not fishing down current like that. It's hard to do. We kind of had to figure that out. But if you're setting, cross current, throwing at the bank, current sweeping in front of you, let's talk about dead sticking a shrimp and how to throw that towards the bank and fish it to still get that same effect of that shrimp gliding down current. I feel like a lot of people, they do too much and that shrimp's just kind of swinging in the current. It's not getting down and staying up in the water column. How do you like to fish that shrimp if you're throwing it at the bank and current?
So, everybody fishes differently, but when I cast, I'm like, I wouldn't say strategic by any means, but like, I don't want a lot of slack or bow in my line, depending on wind direction and what the tide's doing. I want my line to be from perpendicular from me to the bank. So I want to be in contact with my bait at all times. So, but naturally the current's going to sweep that bait down. You're going to have some bow, but you're not going to have as much bow if you cast low and keep your rod tip down. So keeping less line in the air per se.
Yeah.
But just keeping that bait in a straight line from you in the bank, letting it hit the bottom, and then keeping your rod tip either just above the water or in the water. I've actually had a lot of luck just eliminating wind slack.
Definitely.
Gotcha.
And keeping your line tight. Because a lot of times that bait will sweep off the bank and down that, whatever, that little drop off or maybe a ledge you're fishing. And as soon as it drops off that ledge, if those trout are staged up there, they'll hit it. And you'll feel the slightest tick. And I just start reeling because it's a standard J hook. So you don't have to
set it or anything.
Set the hook or sweep the rod, but
I still like setting the hook though.
Maybe that's my problem. I set the hook on everything. Rocks, twigs, I don't care.
Hey,
whatever.
Hook sets are free, man. Hook sets are free. My Ryan Christopherson, who's been on the show, shared that with me one time. He's like, hook sets are free. If you think it's a fish, set the hook. Or reel into them or however, but don't be like, it's my least favorite thing guiding is when somebody's like, oh, that was a bite. And they're just sitting there like this, holding their rod up and didn't set the hook, didn't reel down. I'm like, you got to do something when he eats it, and you're not going to catch him.
Yeah,
we can sit here and talk about the bites all day, but let's get a fish to the boat.
Yeah, I'd rather them set the hook. I'd rather them like not second guess that they had a bite. If they, this is coming from flounder fishing, live bait. But like if you feel like you're hung up on the bottom, set the hook.
Yeah,
I have plenty of hooks. I have plenty of leader. I have plenty of weights and terminal tackle. Just set the hook. I'd rather you set the hook on an oyster rock than miss a flounder.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
then wait and then have a fish spit the bait out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Man, that's pretty interesting to hear you guys talk about, you know, because you get guys like me who don't get to go a lot, but when I do go, I'm so excited that I'm just like casting, I'm moving as much as possible because I'm used to fishing.
There's strategy within.
Yeah, there's strategy to like,
types of-
okay, hey, just take a deep breath and like slow the freak down and let the bait kind of do its natural progression, which sounds so elementary.
Yeah.
But like you guys were saying, you weren't doing any of the work. Essentially, you're just kind of pitching bait and letting the current do the work, and then keeping the line tight and waiting for the bite, and then setting the hook, or reeling down on it or whatever. So
and
that's
fishing,
pretty interesting.
And fishing slower current, so like it just depends on, I guess, your moon phase, and I guess the area. If you're or further away from the river, I guess you won't have as much tide or inlet. But I mean, we were near an inlet the other day. You know, having luck, just letting the bait drift down current, but fishing like a slower, like almost a slack water.
Yeah.
You know, you can keep those things on the bottom. And if I am fishing in still water or little current, I won't even move the bait. I want it to be as natural as possible. A lot of people you'll see like, you know, twitch. Like, you know, I just change my presentation a lot.
Change your retreat.
Most of the time it's just one or two subtle bumps of the rod tip and then just letting it sit, because they'll eat it sitting still.
So define dead sticking. I've heard this term a lot. I don't know that I've ever asked anybody what that means. I just assume I know, but for my sake and the audience sake, I want to know what that means.
There's two. When I talk about dead sticking, there's like dead sticking in current and then dead sticking in slack water.
Okay.
So dead sticking, in my opinion, in slack water is like throwing a bait out there. Like say you're fishing docks, you know there's fish on the docks. It's very natural to throw, like for a shrimp.
Soaking the bait.
Soaking bait. Yeah, it's like you're pretty much fishing live bait almost, but it's very natural for a shrimp to, come sliding in there, come down, and then just sit and rest on the bottom. Like Travis is saying. You don't even have to move it. If you know the fish are in a hole, a slack hole, or like no current in a hole, or like against some docks, or in a canal or a basin or something like that, you can throw it up in there, let it sink, count to 10, 12, 13. You can just keep your line tight. And I mean, we've had bites together, like letting a bait sit in one spot for 15 seconds, and then boom, it just, the line comes tight on the bottom.
So just let those fish naturally like swim around and find it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you think about it, you want your bait fish, you want to get their attention essentially, but naturally a shrimp is crawling on the bottom. So
yeah,
you
that's
want
cool.
that bait to stay on the bottom.
Yeah.
And obviously a hook upright. You don't want the bait to roll. Like I've had some, these perfect sinker shrimp and then these storm shrimp, they ride how they sit. The DOA will have a tendency to roll, but fishing, I feel like just it's super simple bait, but it's pretty effective on catching trout.
So they ride like that. Is that how that thing's?
Yeah.
So that thing's riding like that, just with the legs on the ground.
That's how they're kind of gliding.
That belly weight in there does that.
Yeah, I mean they're not standing up on the bottom, but the perfect sinker shrimp by Betts and then the storm shrimp, they do sit on the bottom like that.
And you guys have just produced a lot of fish this season doing that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we're slow fishing, so I mean, obviously we're going to continue to do that from here on out, because the water temperatures are getting colder. The fish are going to start getting more spooky or finicky and more lethargic. Lots of pressure.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to fish as slow as you can to get bites and to get bigger bites. I feel like.
Gotcha.
Definitely. And then dead sticking in the current is a pretty similar thing, but also dead sticking on docks and slack current areas. You can still move that bait. I would still consider it dead sticking if you throw it out there, let it sit for 10, 12 seconds.
Just bump
and
it.
then you I don't even like to bump it. I just start slowly reeling it. So I'm just, barely moving that reel to move it a foot or two, and then let it sit in that spot for a little while. And then, you like Travis was saying, I don't know if it was before we went live or while we were live, one cast might take 3 or 4 minutes to retrieve that bait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is a hard way to fish sometimes, but sometimes you're like, think there's no fish in the area, then you start fishing slow and you're catching a fish on every cast because you're slow it way down. Those fish just need time to be like, all right, I guess I'll go eat that thing on the bottom. But then dead sticking in current, correct me if you think differently, Travis, but it's like keeping that line tight and doing absolutely nothing to move that bait and letting it move completely naturally how the current would carry it. And so you're throwing it out there, throwing it slightly up current, letting it swing, keeping that line tight, keeping that line tight, keeping that line tight. As soon as it starts to swing in the current, I'm reeling it in and casting it again.
Yeah.
So you're getting that like 15-foot stretch of good fishable time. You're throwing it up, that bait's falling down, then you're like, all right, I'm in the sweet spot. You get about 5 seconds.
And you're just retrieving enough to keep that line tight.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
it.
just reeling just enough to keep that line tight.
So you're fly fishing with a spin rod.
Yeah, you're fly fishing. It's like dead drifting and nymph rig, like a bobber rig. That's what you're pretty much trying to do.
Yeah, that's cool.
And yeah, like if there's no wind, a lot of times I fish with my rod tip real high doing that. But if there is wind, you can do the same thing with your rod tip low, like Travis was saying. So,
dude, that sounds like one of those like, oh, keep your rod tip low and keep that line, like you said, just super tight, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. So Procure, you guys using Procure?
Travis has me a believer of the Procure. I'm going to tell you.
Like you guys had talked about a few shows back. I apply it, like right when I tie bait on, and I'll maybe apply it, 30 casts, or I might not even apply it again. But I want to mask the scent of the natural plastic as much as I can. But then, like just the other day with clients, we caught some fish on artificial bait, and I had just gobs of trout slime on my hand, so I'd rub that on the bait, and that'll also cover the natural the plastic smell as well. So usually, like I'm applying Procure first couple of casts, and then it's a gel, and it doesn't come off very easily, especially if it's on your clothes.
It might not look like it's there anymore, but there.
It is there.
It's there, yeah.
And I have a tendency to smell my bait a lot. And
I've seen you taste it a couple times too.
I might have. I'm just kidding. No, but no, just covering the natural plastic smell of the bait. I mean, hard bait, obviously I do apply it every now and then.
Yeah, just a little bit on there
of a MR or a XR10 or something like that. But
now this might sound like a dumb question on soft plastics. Are you applying it all on the outside, inside, outside? Because I know most of those got this little slit right there in the stomach area. Are you filling that? I fill it up like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, man. I'm like, and then I wipe some on the sides, and then I rub my face with it
like an eclair. You got to pack it in there.
I try to do whatever I can. I'm like, pour some in the water.
Usually just on the belly of every bait.
Okay, on the belly of every bait. Okay, gotcha.
Because the trout, I feel like they mainly attack from below the bait a lot of times. So if you're fishing suspended fish, they'll come up, especially if you're fishing hard bait suspended. I feel like they come up and they kind of nose or swipe, to stun.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see it a lot of times throwing topwater for trout, and watching these fish come up and doing flips on them, or like just coming up and shaking their head or swatting the bait. They're not necessarily eating it like a redfish, but you can hear that suction of the fish eating or trying to digest that plug. But you'll just hear them, just a slap. So I don't know, just putting it on the belly or the bottom of the bait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, let's talk about some of those other. What else you got over there?
I have some mirror lures, and mainly these MR17s, because they're pretty effective on catching trout, especially if they're small bait fish. Like I was saying earlier, glass minnow is a big food source. We call them rain bait, but you'll see those a lot in the creeks around, New River, Noose River. I have a little hunting lease up in Pamlico, and you'll see just these pods of glass minnow in the backs of these creeks or in these shallow water little bays. So throwing a mirror lure is a great bait for searching, mid water column, and even fishing on the bottom. So it just depends on what type of bottom you're fishing.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
It definitely does. And one thing I've learned about the mirror lure that has been effective for me in some slack current areas, I watch a lot of there's this YouTube channel called Tactical Bassing. Have you ever watched it? Bassin, I think it's Tactical Bassin. But they have so much good information about bass fishing. But with redfish and trout, almost 99.9% of their tactics and baits, if they haven't already come over to redfish and trout, they should. Because
very similar.
Very similar.
That's crazy.
It's insane how much you can apply freshwater fishing to saltwater fishing, especially targeting trout. I feel like bass fishing and trout fishing have so many similarities. And the other day, Judson and I were fishing, and we were way up the Cape Fear, and I was like, I feel like we're fishing for largemouth bass, trying to catch a big sea trout.
Yeah.
So,
dude, how far up the river do those trout go? Do they book it up through there?
I don't think I've caught one above the what's the big high-rise bridge at Rat Island there? You know what I'm talking about?
The 140?
140 bridge. Yeah, the 140 bridge. I'm sure there's trout that get up above that.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, I've never spent any time targeting them further up than that. Have you caught them further up than that?
I have not, actually. Okay. Just mainly stripers there.
Yeah.
But through the downtown area, like,
pretty good in there.
Way up the Brunswick, yeah.
Yeah, they'll push way back into tributaries and rivers and creeks. And
brackish water, yeah.
Yeah, this time of year
like
for sure.
redfish.
Gotcha.
Fish,
yeah.
Crazy.
Let's talk about real quick other soft plastics besides paddle tails. Are there any other soft plastics besides paddle tails that you like to fish, like that trout trick? Anything else?
The trout trick.
And let's talk about how you retrieve that trout trick. Your different retrieves for that trout trick.
A lot of times I'm fishing that like a shaky head, like I'm bass fishing.
Yeah.
But for really stubborn fish. So I'm fishing that. If there's not a lot of wind, I'm fishing it rod in the rod tip up, and just every now and then subtly twitching the rod tip. And I don't want to move it a lot. I just want it to stay where I think these fish are going to be at on the bottom. I don't know. I feel like you can catch fish sweeping with that. Yeah, we have.
And what bait are you talking about? Let me go to the bait cam. I'm obsessed. Okay, perfect.
I wish you had a button to press. I don't have to do it every time.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's kind of the same color. Is that a Z-Man as well?
That is a Z-Man red bone also.
And for those of you that are listeners, hopefully we're talking enough about the baits as well.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at the comments on here, but
for people listening, not watching. But yeah, so the trout trick, and this is something that Travis, talk about your hook length with the trout trick, because that's pretty key. And something that I haven't put a ton of thought into, but I've started to now that you've shared that with me.
Yeah, so I fish with a lot of different people, and we give each other different ideas, and I've learned a lot fishing with you, and I've learned a lot fishing with other people, and hopefully I've been able to give out some good information as well. But I feel like a shorter hook length lets that bait have a lot more action. You can fish this is a trout eye jig head.
There we go.
It's a 2/0 hook, but it's got a good gap on it. And I used to fish what was considered a sea striker gotcha jig head for a standard paddle tail or just a grub, 3-inch curly tail grub or 4-inch grub. And I noticed I missed a lot of fish because the gap on those hooks are a lot shorter or narrower, I guess you'd say. But with this wide gap hook, we don't miss a lot of fish.
No.
And you're almost certain to bring a fish to the boat.
Yeah.
When you hook them with a single J hook, that's got a good gap. But I think that's a trout. That's a trout eye jig head as well. But the redfish eye jig heads are 4/0 now.
Mm-hmm.
We've caught plenty of trout with those as well. But I feel like it does limit the action of the bait. And since these are elastic baits, and that's why I've been fishing Z-Man mainly, is because the buoyancy of the bait just gives off a lot more action than a standard plastic paddle tail or stick bait. But having a shorter shank hook definitely allows that bait to swim better.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I was nervous about in fishing a shorter shank hook was short strikes. Mm-hmm. Fish going after a bait and missing it because the hook, on a 5-inch trout trick, the hook's pretty far up near the front of it. So if they eat the back of it, you're not going to catch them. But honestly, like, I've always heard this, and I've never seen a trout eat a bait, in person. But people say, and you can see it a lot when you're fishing, mirror lures or multiple hook rigs. See how that bait's gone in the fish's mouth. I think they're almost always going for, like, the eye strike. They say they strike the eye. Like, I really think they're eating the front part of that bait. So a shorter hook really isn't hurting you that bad. I don't think, maybe sometimes a fish is grabbing the tail and playing with it, but I mean, a fish that wants to eat, unless you want to tie like a stinger treble off the back or something like that, you're probably going to get them with the J hook.
Not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. With my luck, I'd sling somebody off my boat.
Yeah,
I think I've hit 2 people casting.
But yeah, to limit, I agree with, so I didn't have a lot of confidence in fishing a shorter. Like, I kind of put on that 5-inch trout trick, and I'm like, this trout eye jig head, like, I don't know that this is the right hook for that bait.
Yeah.
And then I threw it. I was surprised on how well it catches fish because, I think it just gives the bait a lot more action. I mean, clearly.
Yeah, for sure.
And 2, they do strike the head a lot.
Yeah.
So, and then you can play with the eye color or jig head color. But I typically throw red. I love a olive, silver, red flake bait. I mean, whatever brand it
like
is.
any kind of variation of a baby bass color.
Very true.
Yeah.
Baby bass maybe with some gold flake, but I've always liked red eye or red jig heads. A long time ago, I was fishing with my buddy Jonathan in Southport. We would have 8 rods in the boat, and this was a small 14-foot aluminum boat, and we did a lot of trolling for trout just to try to locate and cover a lot of water. We would have, electric chicken bait, so it would be like a chartreuse body with a pink head, or a chartreuse head with a pink body, orange and white curly tail, a white jig head with an orange, paddle tail. We'd throw a red jig head with an orange, like candy corn, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
We fished all kinds of crazy colors just to try to narrow down what those fish wanted to eat, and then we would throw 3 or 4 of those same colors, and we catch a lot of fish.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You can. There's so many variations.
Yeah.
Of swim bait styles, colors, and jig heads. So you just kind of have to. And everybody has their own preference and confidence baits.
Definitely.
For my go-to is what you see on the table.
Yeah, I think it's important trout fishing to have 2 or 3 rods rigged up like a bass fisherman, laying there ready. When you go to an area, fish each bait in each way that you can fish it, and then if you're not getting bites, move. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you need to camp out on a spot long because you caught them there 2 days ago doesn't mean there's a single fish there that day. So, find 3 or 4 baits that you're confident in, have them tied on, roll through those in a spot. If you don't get bit, move to the next spot, or sometimes it's just move 100 yards down the bank.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's move, 15 miles up the intercoastal waterway. But it's I think it's important to go through there, look for a bite, and then pick it apart. Don't pick it apart too much until you know there's fish there.
Exactly. And this happened the other day. I had a good buddy of mine and his dad on the boat. We fished, what you see, the trout trick and the paddle tail.
Yeah.
Primarily. Got bit, instantly doubled up, very first cast, and then caught 15 or 20 fish within an hour and a half. And then we caught them again on soft plastic, but it was a different style. So we stopped getting bit on the paddle tail and the trout trick. And my curiosity or curiousness was like, but throw a shrimp. So we went back up this bank and first cast with the DOA shrimp, caught a trout. Instantly threw in the trout trick behind that, didn't get a bite. Threw in the DOA again, caught a fish.
Yeah.
Continued to catch fish on the DOA for 15, 30 minutes down that stretch of bank on that particular tide, and they would not eat the paddle tail or the trout trick.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, those fish can be finicky, and they can shut down. I feel like if you just beat them up with a certain lure, I feel like they lose interest.
Yeah.
So then to gain their interest back, throw something different.
Throw something else at them.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Man, that's great. Well, dude, you have another bait here that you kind of told us a little bit about before the show started, which was kind of that, I don't know what it's called, but it's like that little hybrid.
Yeah, so this is it's a Paul Brown style mirror lure, but it's a soft dine, and it's the same bait as your MR. It's an MR17, but a soft body. So it does have the rattle weights in there as well.
That's a killer looking color too.
It is.
That's pretty solid. Yeah, there you go.
But anyways, what we were talking about before the show aired was how picky these fish can actually be. I feel like if you're fishing, not really shallow water, but if you're fishing creeks that don't have a lot of tide, or if like there's a bunch of bait fish, and those fish are eating suspended, and they're just not liking that hard plastic, as far as eating, throw a softer bait, but in a same, I guess the same style. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've caught fish on the 17 before, to having them, swallow the bait, being hooked at the corner of the mouth, being hooked on the outside of the mouth, kind of where their gill plate is, and then I've actually hooked them in the pec fin and on top of their head.
Dang.
So I'm like, what's going on? And then a guy I used to fish with said that those trout will come up and nose the bait. Not necessarily. I mean, they follow it too. I don't know if you've seen these underwater cams lately.
Yeah.
But like trout, like they're curious, but they'll rush a bait and stop. Especially if it's suspended. And I feel like as soon as you get that little bit of twitch, it triggers them to eat at least one fish. But they're curious, they follow the bait, then they stop. So I feel like you feel those ticks or those twitches in your line. Sometimes they're aggressive, sometimes they're just, you'll see your line jump, but you'll set the hook and there's nothing there. And I'm thinking from my perspective that the hard plastic will keep them from eating some days.
Yeah.
If they get that picky, throw a softer bait, but the same style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be a game changer.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty sick, man. I didn't even, of course, I'm, whatever. I'm like, I gotta get some of those.
Right.
I'm like, when you show that and you're like, oh, look at this little hybrid hard soft thing. I'm like, what the freak is that?
There's a whole other thing to spend money on.
Yeah.
And they're not cheap.
They're not cheap.
I'm sure.
Now, do you think that, and I don't fish a lot of the soft deans or the Paul Brown stuff, and I want to, but I can't. I don't need more tackle to spend money on. Actually, I think we're going to bring a guy back on that we had from Texas and do a whole show just talking about Paul Brown soft lures. He was like, I mean, he has these like shadow box cases full of like classic Paul Brown lures and all this stuff.
That's crazy.
And, like, he knows his stuff when it comes to that. And I think it's something that people here should be enlightened. And I would like to learn more about it because they crush big fish on those Paul Brown lures down there. But do you think that those are pretty similar baits? Do you think they have a similar presence in the water, or would you say the hard bait? I'm like thinking, all right, maybe the hard bait's a little more aggressive, a little bit louder. Maybe the soft dean is maybe the same action but a little bit less aggressive and underwater. Is that just me thinking too much into it, or
maybe? But I don't know. I thought the same. I bought the soft deans in multiple colors and play with them, in the pool, and I'm like watching their sink rate. I'm watching the action. I think there is less action on the soft dean, but I feel like if those trout are picky and they don't want to eat a hard plastic bait, just switching to that softer, that soft plastic. Well, I guess you wouldn't say hard bait, but the soft plastic bait fish, suspended bait fish can be a game changer
for sure. And you bring up a good point that it sounds like, overkill, but if you have the ability to take some of these baits you throw for trout to a pool and throw them in the pool, and like in the summertime when it's warm, you and a buddy go there and both cast into the pool and work them different ways and understand how they're actually moving when you twitch that rod.
Yeah.
It's one thing to like throw a DOA shrimp all day and like, know how you're getting bit and then, know how you're not. But then when you can really see what that bait's doing, I think it helps you even more. Like with every type of bait, a Marilou or a topwater, looking at it from the bottom, moving fast. Like if you move a topwater really fast and you're looking up at it, it's so much harder to see.
Yep.
I think it gets aggressive strikes, but when you walk a topwater really slow, not only because it's like moving fast, but it has this much more streamline, and the water that's moving away from a topwater plug when it's going fast blocks a lot of that view of the bait on the surface.
True.
So if you're like getting missed by, working it fast on top, like working it a little bit slower where that fish can actually see it better.
Yeah.
But there's just so many little things you can learn from looking at baits in a pool and understand how they're working.
I agree entirely. And, there's 1,000 different baits you can throw, but just, knowing what works for you, just the type of water you fish really in general. I try to fish, I try to expand what I know and fish different places, and then try to fish those places like I'm fishing back home, but they don't necessarily work. So then you have to start over.
Yeah.
And then maybe break out some lures you haven't never thrown that you have in your box. But I mean, that's my confidence baits. Those are my confidence baits there. But like Judd said, knowing what they do and then knowing where they're most effective, depth-wise, like water column, times of the year, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Current, exactly, yeah. And like I saw a question earlier, it said something about how do you keep a mirror lure? How do you work a mirror lure on a fast-sweeping bank?
Yeah.
I usually don't throw a mirror lure.
Yeah. Oh, you can throw a heavy dean. You can throw a heavier bait or 27.
Yeah, I mean 18s or the 27. A little bit bigger profile. I have one here. with us.
Bait cam. Here we go.
That's the Sports Center thing I keep doing.
Yeah. You're going to get us sued. Now, what is that right there?
It says MR27. So it's an XL. So basically it's a MR17, but
Yeah.
a little juiced up.
Everybody's taking screenshots on their phones right now.
That color doesn't work, though. That's why he brought that one.
This color
Gotcha.
doesn't work.
This is junk.
Mardi Gras. No, but fishing, I don't know. Fishing a heavier mirror lure in current, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, those fish, they can't, I don't know. Maybe they're eating aggressively and they can't actually profile the bait, so they just go for it.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. I like fishing heavy jig head, big swim bait, and current like that when I'm sweeping banks.
Yeah.
Man, such good info, dude.
It's almost like if you do want to throw a hard bait like that in heavy current, you gotta play in that dead stick a little bit. You're not dead sticking it, but you're throwing it up current. You're giving it that that tight line time to fall. Maybe only getting 2 or 3 twitches in on that swing. But
yeah,
or like didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I usually don't fish perpendicular to the bank if I'm throwing like a mirror lure.
Yeah.
Like, and usually I'm fishing up current or like working maybe the mouth of a creek and I'm down current. I want that bait to kind of work towards me, so I want to let the water do most of the work for me.
Yep.
And then move it every once in a while. But then obviously it's right underneath the boat or behind the boat, so you got to reel up.
Yeah.
So you're only working where you think those fish are sitting on like a particular point, fishing what we call rips or seams.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's lots of current moving down this bank, but then there's like almost an eddy behind it that's in the shallower water. But that's how I would work a hard bait or a mirror lure. Mirror lure is mainly like these lipless baits or these crank style baits.
Yeah.
Like your XR10, your Rapala, your Yozuri 3DS minnows.
Oh yeah.
Any baits with a lip on them that you would, like a jerk style bait that you suspend, I wouldn't throw in current at all.
Yeah.
I usually don't.
Yeah.
They can be decent for trolling and like work in different ways, but that swing in the current, I'm with you on that. And that someone just said, I think it's Marg or Marge, probably, I don't know, MARG. Any thoughts on Rapala or X-Wraps? Which my next question was going to be like, we got a little bit more time. Let's dive into jerk baits and top waters.
Yeah. So actually growing up, I only fished curly tail grubs with the red jig head. Then I expanded, started fishing different colors, different style jig heads, different weights for different times of the year. If I'm fishing shallow or deep, obviously different colors. But then I'm like, I want to do something different. I want to catch bigger fish because I was tired of catching 16 to 18, 20-inch fish. I wasn't really catching many fish.
Poor Travis.
So I'm like, I want to catch bigger fish. And it's probably been 7 or 8 years now.
Okay.
But I was only always throwing these XR6s and XR8s, which is the XR X-Wrap Rapala standard. Just got a little bit of I think they're the tungsten balls right below the first hook to help it to spin and just to give a little bit of rattle or noise in the water. Anyways, I'm like, well, let me try a bigger bait. So I went to XR10. Actually caught my personal best trout on that.
Which is?
6.9.
Heck yeah.
28.5 inches.
Heck yeah.
Had the XR10 is like a 6-inch jerk bait. Had the bait sideways in his mouth. So, yeah, big fish eat big bait.
Wow, yeah.
But then I started playing with the sink rates on those style baits and then the action. So whenever those fish get really lethargic and I know where they're sitting at on a bank or in a particular area at a certain depth, I want to work that bait in that depth range and maximize my time in the strike zone, essentially. So I'm changing the hooks out, which I have done. I showed Judd earlier. Back to the bait cam.
To the bait cam.
I think that one's already used too.
So changing out my hooks to either smaller or larger hooks to adjust sink rate. And also, I don't know if a lot of people do this. I have been doing this a lot, is adding lead, not tape, but lead strips. And they're also made by Storm. And they also have the dots too, if you don't want to do those strips. But adjusting sink rates and then adding lead to the body or to the belly of the bait. Just by doing that changes the action of the bait. So, back to the swimming pool discussion, I started adding little tiny pieces of lead on these baits, either on the tail or on the nose, because I would want that bait to work a certain way in that water column.
Yep.
And like I said, fish the strike zone as long as possible. So I would, like a bass fisherman, throw out, reel down as fast as I could with my rod tip in the water to get those baits down to that depth, and I would just let it sit. Twitch it one time, let it sit. Maybe twitch it twice. And this is like cold water, I guess, tactics.
Yeah.
But
gotcha.
Just coming from like the bass fishing background, and that's what people do to catch fish. In bigger fish in the wintertime, bass fishing, it's those jerk baits and fishing as slow as you can, but knowing where those fish are sitting in the water depth or the water column is super important.
For sure. One thing, this just popped in my head. It's on topic a little bit. It's off topic a little bit, but my brother shared this with me, and I don't know why. I mean, it's pretty basic if you think about it, but you're always wondering, like, all right, how do I know if I'm on the bottom? Like people say, oh, when you feel the bottom, and like I feel like a lot of my clients are like, I can't feel the bottom. I don't know if I'm on the bottom.
Yeah.
But if you look at your depth finder, or you have an idea of how deep it is, all right, say you're in 6 feet of water, you can let, if you're 6 feet tall, let 6 feet of line out of your rod tip to your bait, and then sit there, hold your bait on the surface, and then go slack with your rod tip all the way down to the water, and count how long it takes for that line to get tight again. So all right, and it took 4 seconds for this bait to sink 6 feet deep in the water.
Yeah.
And that's helped me a lot in different scenarios, like fishing deep canals or boat basins or something like that, and fishing something extremely light and knowing, all right, I'm on the bottom, I'm near the bottom, being able to get that count down, and then you're like, all right, it's 12 feet deep. I know I sink these 6 feet, and this time I can count it down to 15, 20, however deep. Like I was bass fishing with my brother. We were throwing underspins in like 28 feet of water. Light jig heads, crazy light jig heads. You can't feel the bottom. You just have to know you're there.
Yeah.
And like you just throw it, you count to like 32, and then you just start reeling as slow as you can, and then you just feel just a big old bass load up on it, 30 feet of water.
That's crazy.
On like like I said, I don't know the weights of jig heads. I can never remember all the different weights, but extremely light jig head. So
it was heavy enough to get 28 feet.
It was heavy enough. They all are,
pretty good.
if you give them enough time.
If you give them enough time.
The lightest jig head will hit the bottom if you give it enough time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dude, I had one guy I was fishing with one time. I think we were trout fishing, and he told me that. He was like, of course, he knew the water or whatever, so he's like, oh, pitch it over there and count to 7. So I just always count to 7 no matter what. I'm like, 7's getting me somewhere.
It's got me somewhere down there.
I guess just knowing your area, knowing the water depth you're fishing, knowing kind of where those fish are going to be. So recently I've been throwing a heavier jig head to help that bait get to the bottom faster, and then keeping it on the bottom while I'm retrieving as slow as I can.
Yeah.
Crawling the bait essentially. So, but I'll also go to an 1/8, and then a lot of trout fishermen will even go to a 1/16.
Wow.
Just to slow their sink rate through the water column, to maybe even trigger a reaction strike if it's dropping past a fish that is suspended, or maybe just a few feet off the bottom.
Yeah.
So just getting fish as light as you can get away with.
Yeah,
I guess
for sure.
is a good, and you hear that across the board, freshwater, saltwater. Flounder fishing for me is doing that, just fishing as light as possible, or as light as you can get away with. You just want to feel the bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe not, well, in that case bass fishing, but knowing that you're near the bottom or on the bottom.
Yeah, for sure.
Fish as light as you can. But here lately I've been fishing above 1/4 of an ounce, and then as these fish get more finicky, a little more lethargic, I'll be fishing up to an 1/8 or even a 1/16 ounce jig.
Yeah. Now, when you rig those, are you rigging those with like straight to the bait, or are you rigging like a loop knot, or how are you rigging those up?
Well, I ask everybody I fish with how they what knot they tie, but how they tie their bait on, because I honestly tie a DOA directly to the eye of the hook.
Yeah.
With a leader, or right?
Yeah.
No,
using a leader. Yeah.
Okay.
But
like a cinching knot.
Yeah, like a cinch knot, basically. Reverse cinch is what I use. Really, I use all the time. Reverse cinch, especially on braid, because you don't want it to slip. But now your hard baits and even my paddle tails, and then the stick baits, I'll use a loop knot.
Okay.
Because I want that bait. I mean, at DOA, it can only move as much as it can, right?
Right.
And it's just mainly just going to get picked up in the current and roll. But no, like the storm shrimp and your baits that do truly sit on the bottom, like a natural shrimp, I will use a loop knot.
Okay, so it gets more action, I guess, while it's down there in the current.
Yep.
Cool.
That's a good question.
Yeah, and then leader size. I mean, we can talk about that forever.
Yeah.
But
next week we're talking leader size for an hour.
For what?
But and I only bring this up because it happened to us last week or 2 weeks ago. We found a better class of fish. I had bumped my leader size from I think 12 or 15 to 20, and I think Judson was still throwing like 12 or 15, and he set the hook on a good fish and broke the leader.
Yeah.
Dang.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, 9-pounder.
Could have been.
My fishing rod has a scale built in, so when it pulls, I can tell.
That would be a good invention.
His Coonan loaded up to the last guide above the reel seat, and the line broke. Well, at least the leader broke. But
watching too much Bill dance.
Knowing where you're, like, just if you're fishing a lot of heavy structure, a lot of wood, like lay down areas in the shallow marshes, fishing a heavier leader, as long as you can get away with it.
Yeah.
I feel like it is. The fish, I don't feel like they care, but I feel like these fish are in Wilmington fishing a lighter leader. Later in the year, when they're more pressured, you can have better success.
Do you like clear? Do you like the pinks?
I don't. I've been using pink lately.
Uh-huh.
I don't have a preference.
Yeah,
I really don't brand or
I think pink's
color.
just a little girly. That's why I don't like to throw. That's it. I'm just kidding.
HD pink is I don't know. It's really whatever. I don't like spending a bunch of money on tackle. I mean, I'm going through, and you are too. You're going through a lot of gear, terminal tackle and lures, but just as cheap as you can get away with.
Yeah, dang.
But no color preference.
We had another question. Do you like taking the feathers off your X wraps?
Oh, that is a great question. Whoever asked that, I actually tie a lot of flies. I used to tie a lot of flies, and so after the feather. And I feel like that is effective, like just that little bit of movement on the back of that hard bait, whether it's a mirror lure, because I know a lot of people who will use a feathered hook on the back of a MR17 or an 18. That does give off, I mean, it floats in the current, right? Or in the water. So if your bait's sitting still, I mean, that little bit of tail on that feather is moving.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that can trigger bites as well. But that was a great question because I used to swear by the feather tail. And all my buddies that I used to fish with back in Southport, when I had my 14-foot aluminum boat, the good old days, we only fished feather tails, and I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
And since I put all my fly tack away, my vise away,
we were talking about this the other day actually.
I haven't tied any in a long time, but I would go buy. I don't like standard trebles that come on most of these baits, so I'll buy bulk packs of like 4X hooks, something I know will hold up, multiple fish without bending or opening up. I used to tie those feathers on a lot.
Yeah.
So
I
like
have
that
to
could
agree
help.
with you about the movement, even when you're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like you take a fly, and when you've got it, when you first tie a fly, and you got it all fluffed out and everything. That's what that fly looks like underwater. When you get it wet and then take it out, it just looks like a stick. But as soon as it goes in the water, all those little fibers start moving.
Yep.
So that feather added on the tail is just another little bit of movement that's not too aggressive, but I think it keeps the fish's interest a lot of times.
I do too. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, growing up, I went from fishing, mainly just soft plastics to probably spending way too much money, maybe my entire paycheck on just X wraps alone, and then some friends introduced the mirror lures to me, so I just kind of bought everything. But no, fishing X-Wrap I guess not the X-Wrap king in Southport, but
the queen.
I liked fishing that bait, but particularly because of that feather tail.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I can make these.
Oh,
so
yeah.
then I just started buying bulk packs of hooks and tying them and putting them on most of my lures.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
if you've been listening or watching this show and you can't get any value, then I'm like gonna go home and just get my rod and just go.
And you can find everything you need at Intercoastal Angler, Texas Tackle, or
Island Tackle
down at Carolina Beach. They've got every bait we've talked about. So every local shop
has
every bait we've talked about.
It's insane. how many lures are out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
'Cause,
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, they want you to spend money, right?
Oh, yeah.
But like, just little subtleties on a particular bait can make the big difference in catching one fish or catching 10 fish.
Yeah.
So-
I think you see it play out more with trout than any other
I agree.
inshore saltwater species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No-
I feel like redfish aren't as picky.
Yeah, definitely not.
If they get a bait in front of their face, they're usually going to eat.
Yeah, and a lot of the trout baits work well for the redfish, but and vice versa. But yeah, the redfish, if you just move something in front of its face, it's 99.9% presentation. Putting
Yeah.
that bait
Oh,
in the right
absolutely.
place, and they're gonna
Yeah.
eat it. So
For sure.
Yeah. Awesome show, dude.
Yeah,
Thank you
good
so
show.
much, Travis.
yeah, thank you,
Travis,
you guys.
if people want to go fishing with you, how do they get in touch?
You have my contact information, or just you can reach out to me. I work in Oak Island, mainly Oak Island Fishing Charters, primarily live bait fishing. But if I have friends or people that can fish on the boat, I'll bring all my
Mix
all
it up
my
a little.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got a nice little collection right there,
One of
which I'm sure that's one of many.
Many
yeah.
boxes.
That's many
one of
paychecks.
100,000.
Yeah.
Awesome,
My
man.
fiance
So,
doesn't want to know about that.
so you
Just
guys
kidding.
heard it here. Go check out Travis. Go check out his business. Man, really appreciate you sharing all that. I know we could get down into it. So one last question for you from me.
Yep.
Will you go to a bunch of different tackle shows and start looking for new stuff, or are you kind of sold on what you're working on and just let it be introduced to you as you go?
I know the Myrtle Beach boat show is coming up. I think I'm a good buddy, Chad. He builds custom fishing rods like Jason. He usually travels to these shows, and I tag along because I just enjoy,
Yeah.
talking to people and just meeting new people, and then also looking at new baits that are coming out. But I haven't been to any of these major tackle shows, like iCast,
Yeah.
and those other big expos or something, or guess. But no, I just stick to what I know, and word of mouth usually.
Yeah.
Like if something's happening, we
Oh, yeah.
know about it. Judson and I are just guides. I don't know, and we pick up on it, and then we can apply it to wherever we're fishing and kind of whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
I
Man.
think what's helped me the most with learning the new baits to fish is I bought off of Amazon. I bought a wildlife officer costume. And so at the boat ramps on a busy, Saturday, I'll stand there and walk up to people's boats and ask them if I can check their live well and
Hey, let me
whatnot, and
see
look at
that.
what's tied
Genius.
on. And it's helped. I take I'm gonna have to take some pictures of this.
Yeah.
This does not
That
look
is
legal.
genius.
Yeah, it works really well. I do it every other Saturday. So
Yeah.
No. What's funny is actually, if I know a lot of people are on the water on a particular day, and like I'm fishing an area that's not a community hole, but it's pretty common,
Yeah.
I will lay my rods down. Or if I'm at the ramp, I'll completely lay them in the floor.
Yeah.
I don't want people to know I'm fishing, or
and then we come on here and tell
Or if
everybody
I'm
we're-
Then
fishing.
you come on here and screenshots of it.
yeah. No, truly, like if you
That's
see me on the
perfect.
water, you'll see these tied on.
Yeah.
I'm usually fishing.
No, but I'm with you. When you're on your spot and you're catching them, and it's like, go take this out and apply it in your areas. But
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be secretive on the water too if I'm catching them and someone else isn't. I mean, I'll be helpful as well.
I mean, I know people that cut their bait, like they'll put on 4 DOA shrimp driving out to the spot, and then they'll cut every one of them off and tie on the lure.
Oh,
Fish
gotcha.
that, and
Yeah.
then take it off before they head back to the ramp.
way too much.
Those are the same people that have their clients lay down the bottom of the boat so they can take a picture of them.
Yeah.
Man, what an
man.
awesome show, man. Thank you so much, Travis. Well, Judd, it's been a pleasure to do the show with you. And so next week I'm going to do my final show with you guys.
I know, man.
My final show as a co-host and co-owner of Eastern Current. So
Tell people why.
I'm going to focus. Let me see if I can bring, I don't know if I can bring you on here and me or not. Hold on a second. I'm going to do it. Yeah, perfect. Here we go.
I'm glad I knew before the show, or I would have been a little more jaw dropped.
Yeah, man. So anyway, we're this is all messed up. But
Okay.
anyway, so dude, I'm going to focus on real estate. I'm going to focus on Thorpe Creative. And then I really enjoy doing podcasting. So I'm actually going to create a business podcast. So already got some of that in the works, just to talk to local business owners and, just do some networking, man. Do what I really love to do and talk about business and hopefully inspire people in the area of business and getting started and promote their stuff. So, but dude, got too many irons in the fire, and this is an awesome one, man. This is the funnest one, but at the end of the day, I have to do what makes the most sense for my family, and hopefully everybody else would do that as well. Take care of their family first. So
100%. You'll be missed by myself, our guest, and our
including
listeners.
Myself.
Yeah, for sure. So
I do appreciate it. Yeah,
and it won't be your last show. It won't be your
last show.
It won't be
my last
It'll
show.
Be your
It'll be my
last co-hosted show.
The next time I come, I will just sit in a chair and talk into a microphone.
We're gonna ask you all the questions.
That'd be ask me all the questions.
Billy, why did you start this multi-million-dollar fishing company and then just walk away?
Because I didn't have time to fish.
Or apply everything you've heard on the show and then come back and then teach us how.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What I'll do is I'll just go back through the 20. I don't even know what episode we're on. 24, 25? 25. So I'll go back and listen to those 25 shows. I'll put some curriculum together and I'll start an online fishing academy.
There you go.
No, I'm just messing.
I think you should. I'd take it.
Somebody says they want a hat. Ryan says, I want a hat. Well, jump on our website, etcurrent.com, and get a hat.
You can do it.
So, super stoked, man.
The link is in the Instagram page, but it's etcurrent.com.
Yeah, I need to jump on that train as well.
Get on that train. It's
a good
train.
Dude.
It's moving fast. I think we sold 10,000 hats last week.
If we sold 10,000 hats, I would be like, I'm not selling houses anymore.
I'm selling hats, baby.
I'm a hat salesman. If I sold 10,000 hats in a week. But anyway, man. So we'll do our final show, and then and we'll kind of transition next week. And I think you have some plans for that show. And,
definitely.
And I have some plans. I got some fun plans in my mind.
Oh man,
we'll see what happens. We'll see. Just depends.
Can we let these pistols down now that we've had on the table this whole show?
Yeah, we can put them.
Yeah.
Travis, thanks for being on again, man.
Hey, thank you, Billy.
It was awesome. You're always fun, and so I look forward to future shows. And yeah, man, excellent. That's it.
Awesome.
25.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Later.